Welcome, focused learners. Let's dive right into this explainer, a rigorous academic bootcamp on IGCSE Accounting 0452. I'm your subject specialist, and we are going to map out that crucial bridge between basic data entry and top-tier financial intelligence.
And I'm your senior examiner. We're teaming up today to really decode the examination mindset and build your confidence up step by step. If your ultimate goal is that coveted A-star grade, well, you are in exactly the right place.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our highly structured roadmap to get you there. 1. Core architecture and principles, and 2. Advanced technical methodology. Then it's on to 3. AO3 interpretation and ratios, 4. Examiner warnings and pitfalls, and we'll wrap up with 5. The A-star challenge.
Subject Specialist, Section 1, Core Architecture and Principles, Establishing the Unbreakable Laws of Business.
To absolutely master this syllabus, you've got to understand the duality of every single transaction. It's like a giant puzzle. Every action has an equal financial reaction within the business entity. It's the invisible framework holding up the whole shebang. But hey, a quick warning on the language we use here.
Exactly. For the new 2028 to 2030 syllabus updates, Cambridge demands modern international terminology. The days of using outdated phrases, they're completely over. You are now required, with 100% accuracy, to use terms like irrecoverable debts instead of bad debts and owner's equity. Look, using old vocabulary is literally the fastest way to signal to me, the examiner, that your prep is out of date.
Sitting right at the very center of all this terminology is the accounting equation. Assets equal liabilities plus equity. You need to treat this like an absolute, unbreakable law of physics. It has to be maintained at all times during the fiscal period.
Precisely. If your equation doesn't balance, well, you've broken that law of physics somewhere in your workings, and the entire financial structure just collapses.
And navigating those rules often involves balancing competing principles. For instance, I might argue for the historical cost principle. Recording assets at their original purchase price because it's objective, it's verifiable.
Right, but as an examiner, I will absolutely counter that with the prudence concept. What if that asset's value has permanently dropped? Prudence dictates you must anticipate potential losses. If you just ignore prudence to blindly follow historical cost, the direct cause and effect is an overstatement of your profits. You completely distort the financial reality for banks and tax authorities. You have to know exactly when prudence overrides cost.
To navigate that reality under immense exam pressure, your vocabulary and recall need to be razor sharp. You've got to master concepts like accrued, prepaid, realization, and consistency.
And because we know exam pressure is very real, here is an A-star memory hack for your foundational ledger balances. Just remember the mnemonic PEALS. PEA for purchases, expenses, and assets. These always carry debit balances. RLS for revenue, liabilities, and sales. These carry credit balances. Lock PEALS into your mind, and I promise you won't panic when opening your T accounts.
Senior Examiner. Section 2. Advanced Technical Methodology, Procedural Logic, and Earning Method Marks.
Now that our foundation is rock solid, let's look at the procedural logic. This is the exact step-by-step chain required for your practical coursework and exams. It all kicks off with Step 1, documenting your evidence.
That's right. Every transaction starts with a source document, like an invoice. That evidence feeds the books of prime entry, which then translate into your T accounts, culminating finally in the trial balance. You cannot skip steps. Understanding this procedural flow is exactly how you minimize calculation errors and actually prove your investigative skills.
And I really need you to hear this next point loud and clear. Show all your workings. In the examination room, method marks are your absolute, ultimate safety net. We award these marks even if your final balance is completely wrong, provided your logical flow is visible to us. When you're tackling some complex, multi-step problem for depreciation, your visible process is the exact thing that saves your grade.
The absolute gold standard for proving that logic is the T account structure, representing the double entry system. You must master the balancing scales of these accounts, specifically distinguishing between balance brought down and balance carried down. Actually, let me interrupt right there, because it sounds basic, right? But under exam pressure, mixing up your BD and CD is a remarkably common trap. I see highly prepared students lose easy marks here every single year. Please, don't let it be you.
Let's rapidly fire through some other mathematical pitfalls. Miscalculating the percentages in trade discounts versus cash discounts,
That's a classic error.
Oh, for sure. And here's another massive one. Forgetting your state symbols or labels in manufacturing accounts. These seemingly small details in formatting are exactly what separates a good candidate from an elite one.
Subject Specialist. Section 3, AO3 Interpretation and Ratios, the true test of A-star evaluation.
Okay, let's elevate our perspective to Assessment Objective 3. Calculating a ratio? That's a baseline skill. Analyzing what it actually means is where you prove your worth. Look at the story hidden inside the number you see right here. Imagine a scenario where a business's current ratio has shockingly plummeted from a super healthy 2.5 to 1 all the way down to 1.1 to 1. Put yourselves in the shoes of a lead financial analyst for a second. Look at that massive drop. So, what's causing this sudden liquidity crisis?
Subject Specialist. An A student investigates the operational causes. Has inventory been massively overpurchased, completely tying up cash? Are trade payables being settled way too slowly? Or perhaps cash reserves were entirely depleted by a sudden capital expenditure?
Exactly. Hit the nail on the head. That is top-tier AO3 thinking. Don't just tell me liquidity is bad. Diagnose the why behind those numbers. That's the stuff that earns the highest evaluation marks.
And that critical thinking also applies to inter-firm comparisons. Comparing two different businesses is incredibly tricky because their internal accounting policies might differ. Like if firm A uses the straight line method of depreciation and firm B uses the reducing balance method, a direct surface-level comparison of their profits is essentially meaningless. You have to look deeper. And looking deeper means evaluating non-financial factors that impact return on capital employed, or ROCE. We're talking about things like staff morale, location, or market reputation.
This is a perfect modern industry application right here. Today, AI-driven fintech applications like Xero can calculate the ROCE in literally a microsecond. But the software, it can't evaluate plunging staff morale or a damaged reputation. It takes a human strategist to understand how those qualitative factors dictate long-term sustainability.
Senior Examiner. Section 4. Examiner Warnings and Pitfalls. Inside the examiner's vault. Listen to this direct quote from the recent principal examiner reports. Students often lose marks through poor handwriting in ledger accounts and failure to distinguish between revenue and capital items. Losing a grade boundary because I literally cannot read your numbers is an unforgivable error. And failing to separate revenue from capital items, that shows a fundamental collapse of the core principles.
So, the crucial point is to cement these absolute rules of survival. Do show all logical workings.
Don't rush and write illegibly.
Do manage your time strictly based on the weightage of the question.
And do not ever confuse capital and revenue expenditure. Print this mental table out and keep it locked in your mind.
Subject Specialist. Section 5. The A-Star Challenge. Your research mandate.
We've covered the architecture, the methodology, and the analysis. Now, we present your Pause and Think A-Star Challenge. Think of this as your elite homework mission. First up, find a recent trick-past paper question and solve it using procedural logic. Second, investigate modern industry applications. Research how fintech like Xero automatically handles books of prime entry to minimize human error. Senior Examiner. Third, identify one more specific examiner pitfall from those 2028-2030 syllabus updates. And finally, review the Pearls mnemonic we gave you today and create one of your own for your most difficult mathematical formula. Make it instantly accessible under pressure.
Subject Specialist, we leave you with this final thought as you prepare. Will you merely record the data, or will you master the principles to become a true financial strategist? Senior Examiner, the tools are yours. Execute the methodology, secure those method marks, and conquer this syllabus. Happy studying!